WrestleMania is over, and those of you who pay attention know that WrestleMania is the cutoff date for the 2K series. Everything that's going to be in the game is going to be finalized before WrestleMania and at WrestleMania. Anything past that might not make it in, or might be DLC, or something along those lines. And so, with WrestleMania in the rear view, let's talk about expectations and perhaps some predictions for 2K18. Now, it feels like every year they feed us the same line. This game is the most realistic and most authentic of all the WWE games. And I'm like, it's the only one? There's no other option. So of course you're the most of anything because you're the only one. But thinking about the last 12 months, in wrestling, there have been some major changes. First and foremost, the brand split. I would imagine this game would focus on, okay, we had a brand split, we had a draft. Now, will it have a draft function much like Shut Your Mouth had on PS2? They have had plenty of time to get in those new sets and new Titantron graphics and whatever else. That stuff all started back in last June or July, whatever the hell the draft happened. So I see no problem in them having the new sets and the new belts and all of those trappings. But here's the big question. The big question. Will they have separate announced teams for Raw and SmackDown? Will they have 205 Live and their own announced team? But on the flip side, this year, for the first time in just about forever, Jerry the King Lawler is no longer a full-time announcer. So having him recycle the same tired lines over and over and over again that just kept bringing on from game to game to game seems kind of stupid. So while it's been a couple of years since they finally decided to include JBL, how about Corey Graves? How about Morrow? I don't care about Tom Phillips or Byron Saxton or Otunga. They can stay off. But seriously, they've got better announcers, so have them do work. But speaking of 205 Live, just how many cruiserweights will actually make it into the shipping product this year? Going back to the sets for a moment, there is a brand new Elimination Chamber that just debuted a couple of months back. Will that be in the game? Because they have a tendency to recycle their extra match mode stuff for a couple of years past when it should be there. And believe me, I understand that they only have so many months to make this game. Even if they're building on the last year and the year before and the year before, you still have a limited schedule to get that stuff done. But every year you say, oh, it's the most authentic and it's the most realistic. Well, if you could actually back that up with, proof, that'd be great. But I think there's a pretty good chance that new chamber is going to make it in. But another question mark is the UK stuff. Now, easy enough to put in the UK title, easy enough to put in your UK champion, but that show hasn't happened yet. So outside of those two things, do you put in anybody else who was in that tournament, or just that, nah, they're DLC, or, you can make them on Community Creations or whatever. So the big part for me, for what I do here on this show, is the MyCareer mode. I did 224 episodes of 2K16, and I am well over 150 on 2K17. It is my belief that it is just too damn long. And I really hope they don't recycle the same tired-ass checklist that they did in 2K17, the Paul Heyman guy list, which was basically a repurposed list from the Authority goals in 2K16. Now, what they did in 2K17 set the stage, because they got rid of all the voice acting in like 95% of those cutscenes. It was all text. And that's great, because one of the greatest story modes in a wrestling game of all time is SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. And that was all text. So you have all the pieces in place, the promo system, the text, the game engine. Just make a nice, fun, exciting, twists and turn, like 20 or 30 hour story mode, and people would fucking love it. It doesn't need to be this 50, 60, 70 hour slog of playing the same feuds with the same cutscenes over and over and over. It's tiring. If you want to put that shit in its own mode, put it somewhere else. but make a fun career mode. It doesn't need to take forever, and give it some variables like Here Comes the Pain had, and people would fucking love it. So I'd like to be hopeful about a revamped MyCareer mode, but given how many hours I put into the last couple of those, I'm just going to be a little bit pessimistic on that. Now then, do they bring back the showcase mode this year? Because last year, there was no showcase mode outside of the Hall of Fame DLC. There was no proper showcase mode. And that was because a lot of the stuff you would do for Brock Lesnar, who was on the cover of the game, you couldn't do because those guys didn't have contracts. Now, funny enough, in the last 12 months, we have back Kurt Angle. We have back the Hardy Boys. So you could do a showcase for Brock Lesnar, but I don't think he's going to be on the cover again, so that would kind of not make a lot of sense. In any event, I would take a much better Here Comes the Pain style career mode than I would take a showcase mode of things that I've already seen on TV 20 years ago. Now, my expectation for the gameplay is it's going to play a lot like last year and the year before and the year before. I'm sure it'll have some tweaks here and there. Some of the little mini games might change here and there, but largely it's kind of the same. Somehow, I don't ever see them allowing us to have more than 6 wrestlers in a ring, in a match, at the same time. You're probably not going to get that traditional Survivor Series 5-on-5 matchup stuff. It's just not going to happen. And that's largely because they've been kind of building on that same tired game engine year after year. And if they would just hire another team at like 2K to start from the ground up and then kind of leapfrog years, then perhaps you could actually get a brand new engine that would support more wrestlers in the ring. But here's the problem. The game's gonna sell the same numbers kind of regardless of its quality, because idiots like me are gonna buy it every year to do videos on this channel. Now I'm hoping they expand upon the backstage stuff from 2K17, because that stuff was pretty good. And I'm not saying you should let us jump out of a helicopter, but let us jump out of a helicopter. It'd be awesome. Again, the closer you can get to the awesomeness that was Here Comes the Pain, the better. But speaking of old stuff, will this finally be the year where they stop putting out the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions of that game? This fall will mark the 4-year anniversary of the PS4 and the Xbox One. But I suppose that's just a matter of money, in terms of, okay, how much money will it take to do a roster update for that 2K14 engine, and how much money are those games going to bring in? And as soon as this number is lower than this number, then they're going to stop doing them. But that does bring up a very important question. And that question is Nintendo Switch. Will we get any wrestling games on the Nintendo Switch? And if so, will that version be the same as the 360 and PS3 version? Because we know the Switch is not as powerful as the PS4 and the Xbox One. That's not personally the platform I'd play it on, but hey, if they make a good version of it, then maybe. But on that note, the Xbox Scorpio is out this fall. I'm buying one. It's going to be the most powerful home console ever released. And as someone who tends to buy my multi-platform games on PS4, because they look and run better, will the version on Scorpio look and run better than the version on PS4 Pro? That's information I need before I pre-order. And that brings it down to who will be on the cover of this game. Look at the last 4 years. You have The Rock, you have John Cena, you have Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you have Brock Lesnar. Now, I think given the events at WrestleMania and the retirement of The Undertaker, I think it makes a whole lot of sense to put Taker on the cover, give him the showcase stuff, and that would be a fitting tribute to a true legend in this business. But one of these years, you know it's going to be Roman Reigns. But that's just the standard. What about the inevitable special edition, which last year was NXT? And I think you've got 2 good options there. You've got Kurt Angle, it's true, it's damn true, or you have the Women's Revolution. Either one could make for a cool special edition. So that's where things are currently at on how I'm thinking about the possibilities for 2K18. We're not going to see gameplay or trailers or any kind of details until August at the earliest. So about 4 more months to start getting a little drip feed of details, etc., etc. And you guys know that even though this channel is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, if they ever go, hey, Attack Slug, come on to our press event, and no, not doing that. Because my goal is to be the most honest, to have the highest integrity, intensity, and intelligence. To look at this game, and all games, with a critical eye without being influenced by any publisher ever. So even given all that, even given all of the past history, I'm going to choose to remain optimistic. I think all of the pieces are there. They could make an amazing game. Will they? We'll see. But until then, and until next time, and as always, I am your host, Attack Slug, and I will see you next time, and every day for more videos, right here on this channel, and I'm out!